my confusion about the massage industry is even therapists, they generally seem to go, no, regulate me more so we can cut this down. And I'm like,
so there's two things I have to say about that. The first is, from the massage therapist perspective, I understand why they're saying that. And that the reason I understand why they're saying that is that because it's because they know that they have nothing to hide, right? So like, yes, it's a pain to make everything that I do more onerous, right? That's a pain. But if you're telling me that it's going to help combat trafficking somehow, and I have nothing to hide, fine, I'll do it. No big deal, no real skin off my back when real people are being exploited. So from their perspective, I kind of get it. It's like, I have nothing to hide, so fine. Give me another regulation, whatever, I'll deal with it. From the legalization of prostitution perspective, however, I don't think that it's the same as cannabis.
No, I don't think it's the same. And I want to be clear that I wasn't exactly saying that. It's more an issue of like prohibition, but go ahead.
Right. So there are a lot of movements across the country in specific jurisdictions to legalize prostitution. Right now, there's a big movement in Oregon. There was a big movement in Washington, D.C. a couple of years ago. It ended up not passing. But prostitution will probably be legal in some states within the next several years. That's just my guess, because the movement to legalize prostitution is pretty strong. My issue with legalizing prostitution is, I have several issues with it. The first issue is that when you talk to buyers of sex, and you ask them, what would deter you from buying sex? Their answer is getting caught by law enforcement, right? Like, I don't want to be arrested. I don't want to have misdemeanor, felony. I don't want to have to pay a big fee. I'm afraid of getting caught. And if the penalty of me getting caught is there, then that would determine. And so legalized prostitution means taking away that penalty of getting caught, right? And so taking away the risk or the fear of getting caught among buyers. Take away that fear, and there's going to be a lot more buyers, right? Because these guys say that would prevent me. That prevents me from buying. If that was gone, yeah, I would buy more. So now you have an increase in demand. If there's an increase in demand in any market, whether it's sex or essential oils, right? There's an increase in demand. There's going to be someone that provides the supply. Now, let's think about the supply. Who is that supply going to be comprised of? Well, it's definitely not going to be comprised of women that willfully are in the commercial sex industry. The reason is that of studies that are done of women in prostitution, 80% of them across the board every time, and this is in almost any study that you look at that has studied women in prostitution, when you ask them, would you be doing this if you had another alternative? The answer over 80% of the time is no. When you ask them why they're doing, or like what caused them to enter this industry, it is, as I was telling you before, it is poverty, it is drug addiction, it is lack of education, it is, all of these what we call push and pull factors that really push or pull women into this life. And when you bring a pimp into it, or a trafficker into it, who is, somebody that doesn't have a loving home, doesn't have a loving family, has never experienced safety and significance by a authority figure in their life. And then this person comes along and gives them all of the love and affection and affirmation and things, right? Like fancy purses, fancy whatever that they have been yearning for their whole lives. That's who's going to fill that supply. It's not going to be people that are willingly doing it. It's going to be people that are forced into it, whether because of their life circumstances or because they're picked up by a trafficker. And so that is why the legalization of prostitution movement makes no sense to me. Because I know based on research of buyers that it's going to increase demand. And I know that that demand will be met by women and girls who do not want to be doing this in the first place. And so that will actually lead to more trafficking and not less.
Does legalization, because we had prohibition of alcohol, did legalization of alcohol increase demand? And I don't know, I'm asking a question.
Well, no, it didn't. But I don't think that those are the same things, especially because you're talking.
They're not. I understand. Like, okay. I'm trying to draw parallels, but I understand they're not exactly the same thing.
Although I don't know if it did or. I mean, I honestly don't know. I have to look historically at the data.
I would argue, this is how I think of it, is like prostitution and drugs and gambling and Las Vegas and, you know, is it health food? No. But it feels to me sometimes that anytime an activity is made illegal, everything about it that's bad increases. So for instance, and I use fentanyl as an example, heroin, opiates. I'm generally, this is me personally, don't take this against me if you're a massage therapist, you don't agree with me on this specific issue. I think all drugs should be legal, period. Cocaine, heroin, and they're like, oh my God, you're crazy. And I'm like, hold on. Legal, clean, pure, refined, controlled, taxed, regulated social programs for junkies and addicts. It's not health food, but everything bad about it seems to just get worse when it's prohibited across the board.